Hi, Matt with etrailer. If you have a 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander and you want to go out riding with your family because you need a whole lot of bikes to go with you, then the Hollywood Rack's Destination Bike Rack for 4 bikes is going to be a great option for you. So let's check it out. And like I said, this is going to be able to carry 4 bikes. We're going to have a tray for each one, and its capacity per bike is going to be 35 pounds. Now, since this is a larger carrier on the more entry-level side, it's actually not going to have a tilt-away to it. And if we look back here, we won't be able to access our hatch with our bike on because we're very close right now. Really, the closest point we're going to have is going to be our handlebars by our window. And if you're on some bumpy roads, it's probably going to move some, but I wouldn't worry about it making contact. But something else to consider is if you have a mountain bike, you're going to have some larger handlebars. But if it's a larger frame bike, because this is a medium frame we have today, it's going to sit a little bit higher and you probably are not going to have that same issue. The issue you might face though is going to be our pedals. If you have larger pedals here at the bottom, that's probably going to stick out a bit more. If that's the case, I'd recommend just rearranging these so the pedal sits in front of your license plate. If you want to take a closer look at this rack, I'm going to remove my bike. So where I like to start is with these straps. You're going to have one per tire. They're really easy to use. All you have to do is remove the strap. I have to tuck mine away so I don't run over it later on. Same thing on the front side. Tucking it away. Then we're going to move over to the center mass. And the way this works is just this clamp with a strap around it that holds onto your frame. So since we are making frame contact, I don't recommend bikes that have a carbon frame, alternative frame, or anything that has a really nice paint job, because you might scuff that up just a bit. With that removed, I can take off my bike. And you could lower this mast first if you wanted to, if you didn't want to lift this above. All you'd have to do is just loosen up this wing nut, remove this clamp right here, then I can lower this down. So that can be a little bit easier to do. Bring it over to you, and with it off, you can take it out for a ride. I just like to make sure I really put everything back up. So we're gonna have these straps. I just like to tuck it back in here. It's just so it's not dangling around as I'm driving. It's gonna make securing things a bit easier too. If you want to see how this sits back here, I'm gonna get a few measurements. The first one I'm gonna get is gonna be our ground clearance from the lowest point, and that's gonna be 18 inches. Which is actually pretty good. Even with some bikes on here, it might drop down by an inch. It's still going to have plenty of clearance, and that's going to be thanks to the design of the carrier having that slight rise to it. Next up, we're going to get how far it sticks out, and that's going to be about 37 inches, which is going to stick out quite a bit, but really for a 4-bike carrier, that's really good. That's pretty compact. But if you are in those really tight spots, like a parking spot or garage, definitely something to consider. Now, if you do want to save space and you don't have any bikes on here at the moment, you can actually fold this up. To do that, I'm going to go to the front of it. I'm going to find that there's a knob on the back side. First, I'm going to pull this pin or clip. Once that's off, I'll have the ability to fold this into the upright position. Swinging it forward, and then making sure I just reattach that pin at the bottom. We're just going to thread back on. I'll make sure I put my safety clip back in place. And from here, if I measure from our back bumper to the back of the carrier, that's only going to sit at a little bit over 9 inches, which is really compact. Now, there are a few things to consider in this position, and that's how close it's sitting right now. So if I look over here, I notice that these clamps are pretty close, and you could probably rearrange this, but with this just having that rubber coating on that, I really don't mind that because it won't cause any damage. Now earlier, I talked about this metal hook. You can see it right here, and this does swing out pretty easy, so if you are on those bumpy roads, I'll probably swing out some, but it does have this kind of more of a rubber coating on it, so if you just take care of it, it shouldn't scratch anything up. With it in the folded up position, it is going to block a decent amount of the back of your Outlander. So right here in the center, you'll notice that our backup camera and license plate are mostly going to be obstructed. Now, that's something definitely to consider when you are backing up. I'd recommend just sticking to your back window or your mirrors. The other thing too is a majority of your taillights are going to be blocked. So definitely consider that when you're driving out on the road. The way this is going to install is we're going to have this 2-inch shank that goes into a 2-inch hitch receiver. We're then going to have an anti-rattle bolt that goes through and connects to the lock cord. Now, anti-rattle bolts are just going to secure this so we don't get any rattling, giving this a better fit. And then this lock cord is just here for extra security so no one can come by and take your rack. In my opinion, I think this is going to be a great way to get you and your family's bikes from point A to point B, especially if you're looking at something that's going to be a little bit more entry level. Now, let's say you got one additional person with you and carrying 4 bikes just isn't enough. Then I'd recommend checking out the Yakima Full Tilt Bike Rack. And what's really nice about that is it's going to be a little bit more adaptable than this. That actually has the ability to tilt away, so if you ever need to get into your hatch, you're going to have that ability. And it's going to be a really quick, easy install. Now, the one downside to it is it's a hanging bike rack style. So the downside to that is your bikes are going to swing around a little bit more. The upside to this one is it's really going to hold your bikes down in one place because we're going to have 3 tie-down points for your bikes. That was just a look at the Hollywood Rack's Destination Bike Rack for 4 bikes on the back of our 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.